I'm live. I am reading out of Winged Pharaoh, a book published in 1937 by Joan Grant. It is a memory of hers, a far memory of hers. It plays before the flood and before Babylon. Her father, Pharaoh Atet, is dead. The funeral has happened. And we are now in part 3 of this book, chapter 1. Young Pharaoh. After my father's funeral, on the evening we got back to the palace, Nea and I went to the pavilion of plants and talked together. Only a year ago we had been children, but now he had grown almost to a man's stature. He looked so much older, and even his voice was tired as he said, "It isn't only you and I, Sakita, who have lost our father, but it's all his people. They knew that every one of them could go to him for justice and counsel, and for his wisdom and his kindliness. Now he's not here anymore. I knew that one day I should be Pharaoh, but I thought that I should rule with him for years, and gradually he would let me do more and more, and when he was old, he might have wanted me to rule alone, but I should still have had him behind me. Now his people have only me to guide them. I shan't even have you to rule with me for such a long time. Oh, Sakita, do hurry up in the temple. It can't really take years if you work frightfully hard." I wish I hadn't got to go to the temple. I wish the priest could do all that sort of thing, so that I could stay with you. But when I'm a priest, I shall be able to remember being with Father all the time instead of only sometimes. Father's judgments were always right. When he ruled, justice and Pharaoh and the scales of Tahuti were 3 ways of saying the same thing. He had all these thousands and thousands of people to look after. Yet everyone who talked to him felt that they alone filled Pharaoh's heart. His soldiers were his brother warriors. He knew their name, even if he hadn't seen them for years, and he remembered how many children they had and where their homes were. It wasn't just an army he had led. All the men fought for him because he was their friend. A child could talk to him and be sure of his understanding as if he were a child himself. Do you remember, Sakita, how whenever we went and asked him something, even if he was tired after a long audience or working at something very important with Zertar, he never answered with just half his mind. He always gave everything of himself. How can I ever be worthy to hold his crook and flail, to sit in the hall of audience, to wear his double crown? Nea, I know, not only in my heart, but with a sort of certain no that comes from outside oneself, that you will be another Atet. Remember what he said to me after he was killed. Tell Nea that much I have taught him on earth, and much will I teach him away from earth. He will be helping you all the time. You only have to think of him and he will be beside you and to give you counsel. And have you forgotten what was said of you when you were born? He shall guide his people when they that assail them are engulfed beneath the waters, even as were the evil ones in the old land. This has been fulfilled, just as the other words shall be true of you. This child shall be called Nea, for the companions of his spirit are long in years, and he is worthy to rule over Khan. But Father wasn't impatient as I am. He could live in the present and see it clearly, undistorted by the past or the future. When he was sitting in audience, he thought of nothing except of how to bring the clearest judgment upon what was before him. He never left half his mind be thinking that there were still 12 cases to be heard, or how hot it was, or that he wanted to go sailing at noon, or any of the other things that always creep into my mind. When he was here with us in the evenings, it wasn't Pharaoh or captain of captains or even high priest of Ptah. It was just a father talking to his children, or a man tending his plants, or a healer with herbs searching for yet another secret of the great artificers. Do you remember, Nea, long ago, when he said, "If men remember me, I hope it will be not as warrior, but as a builder, as a healer with herbs." Yet he built many temples, and he died upon the greatest victory. Under him our people called themselves no longer the people of the two lands, but the people of calm. And the bee and the reed became two eyes that see one thing. And when we are afraid of failing, Nea, we will say in our hearts, "For Atet and Light, for we are his children, and we must follow him and be not afraid." Okay, so this is part 3. That was chapter 1, and chapter 2 of part 3 is Last Day of Childhood. Have a very nice Wednesday.